Welcome, I'm Christy. Let's take a nice full breath. So in the beginning, we're always just trying to settle in, right? Let go of whatever other craziness we were dealing with before we got to our yoga mats. So I've always found a breath helpful. Let's do our wrist here too, because mine's bothering me. So you can do this palm up. We're going to pull the fingers down. You can also do it if you can bring that hand down onto the floor. You can do fingers in towards the body. And then if it's not too tight, you might be able to bend your, like where I am, I can barely bend my elbow at all in this position. But you might be able to bend. You can also do it with your fingers pointing outward. Just give a little press down. Take a breath. And then we're just going to circle that wrist gently. And then we'll do the other hand. So palm up. We're going to pull the fingers down. So again, you can just hang out there, or you can bring that hand all the way down to the floor. It might be fingertips pointing outward. And then you can bend at the elbow. All right, my first arm needs a little more work. Oh, you can't even see where my hands are, can you? Sorry. All right, so I just have fingers down on the floor. You can even try to do them into your legs. Onto your legs, fingers pointing in towards you, or fingers pointing out. A little stretch in wrist and lower arm. All right, and then we're gonna, non-dominant hand is so much looser than dominant hand. So observe what the difference is like for you guys, for you. And then we're gonna do arms up overhead. Nice big breath. Grab hold of right wrist, tip a little bit to your left. Come on back to center, grab hold of left wrist. We're gonna tip a little bit to the right. All right, let's come back and do a little twist to the left. So we're just gonna twist to the left, let left hand drop down onto the floor behind you. Right hand can rest on either leg. Keep breathing. And then we're gonna come back to center, arms come up. We're going to twist it to the right side. Good. And then back to center. Arms come back up. And let's do hands behind us. Interlace fingers together. Pull hands down towards the floor. Inhale. Try to bring those arms up away from your body. And then let your hands drift down. Nice full breath. Circle shoulders. All right, so today we're working on heart chakra. So again, these energy centers, they come out of the spine and they have this sort of cone shape. They expand outward and forward. So it said that the heart's chakra, it begins at the spine behind the heart. So the heart is a little bit, which way is it? I think it's a little bit to the left, right? It's not really dead center. So you're trying to imagine really that spot, kind of center of the chest. And how that then moves backward to your spine. I don't think we have to be that exact, right? We have the basic sense of where it is. But so we're gonna work a lot on heart openers, back bends, trying to stimulate that energy center at the heart. So the heart chakra is deep emerald green. And it's really about unconditional love. So it said that when that heart chakra is balanced or open or spinning properly, however you think about it, that we are able to feel unconditional love for everything and everyone. I think that would be an awesome state to be in. So I'm really excited about just contemplating this whole idea of unconditional love and how we get there. So I think a lot of this practice is about our mental state, right? Really trying to focus our minds on feeling those sensations of unconditional love. So where we begin with that can be thinking about somebody specific that you feel as close to unconditional love as you possibly can. Maybe it's, a place where you can just really feel that sensation of like, I love being in that place. Anything that we can use that helps us to feel this sense of unconditional love, to feel this sense of happiness and joy. It could be a pet. So pets, I think, are super easy to have unconditional love for, right? They tend to love us pretty unconditionally. Sometimes they, if we don't feed them on time, they don't love us so much. But so again, and then, if you can work on that for yourself. So we're going to start someplace that's easy, where we can start to work on really feeling that sensation of unconditional love. And then over time, we want to work on expanding that. So I think feeling unconditional love for ourselves is often very challenging, but I think that's key in being able to love other people unconditionally, because so much of it is just about our own emotions, about ourselves, that make us, struggle with our relationships with other people. Okay, so that said, let's move into, I didn't get to cover this on the Zoom that we did. So this is, heart chakra is Anahata chakra. So Anahata is that unstruck sound. So it's just, the sound that emanates not from two things striking one another. So Anahata Mudra. So we didn't get there in the Zoom chat. You're going to take your ring finger on your right hand. This one's a little bit tricky. You're going to try to place the tip of that ring finger right at the web between the index and the middle finger on your left hand. And then I think if you wrap, you're going to try to drop. So ring finger from the right hand's touching the web between the index and middle finger on the left hand. And then if you kind of curl that left middle finger down on top of your right thumb, then you can try to get your left ring finger to touch the web between the right index and middle finger. And then that right middle finger comes down on top of that left ring finger. So the ring fingers are touching opposite hand between middle and index finger. And then your pinkies, the pads of the pinkies are touching, the pads of the index fingers are touching, and then the thumbs are touching. So again, this is kind of tricky little bending of the ring and middle fingers kind of clamping down, and then you're touching the tips of the other three fingers together. And then we hold that at the heart. So you want to sit comfortably. Few breaths. Let your shoulders relax down. So if this one's not working for you, so again, this is tricky, not super comfortable. Probably take my hands a little while to, get comfortable doing this one. So you can also do Padma Mudra. So then it's just fingers are spread out, heels of hands are coming together, thumbs and pinkies are touching each other. So right thumb, left thumb, right pinky finger, left pinky finger touching each other, and the rest of the hands spread out. And then you can do that at the heart. So much easier. And then I think you can think about that as being open to receiving love, or to receiving that unconditional love. So hands at your heart. Start to picture that deep emerald green at your heart. And then whatever you can think about that you love unconditionally. Imagine that sensation of unconditional love for someone, some being. At the heart. And can you imagine that color green flowing through your entire body? Imagine the sensation of unconditional love flowing through the entire body. So your whole body glowing with that deep emerald green. The energy of unconditional love flowing through you. Take a nice full breath. Good. Alright, so maybe circle wrists again after we're holding. I find that very difficult. I find a lot of the mudras to be very difficult to really hold the hands in place. And so they say to do that for 5 to 10 minutes. So for me, that's definitely something I would have to work my way up to slowly. Alright, let's come out. Oh, back is tight today. Let's come out onto hands and knees. Let's try to loosen up our spines. So you want to move through your practice, as always, with some unconditional love for your body. We're really working on being kind to ourselves. We're working on making ourselves feel better. So we're going to rounding our backs in here, pulling the spines up towards the ceiling. If you can let your head drop down, just let your head gently drop down. Chin coming towards your chest, lengthening out your neck. And then on your inhale, let your spine drop down towards the floor. Let your head and your chest lift up. And then we're going to round. And drop the spine down towards the floor. So let's come into a flat back. And then we're going to try to extend right leg out behind us. So bringing those toes up, pointing your toes down. Just give a nice little stretch out of that right leg. And let's see if we can drop the bottoms of the toes down onto the mat and push backwards. So start to push your heel backwards, stretching out the lower leg. And then come forward. See if you can push that foot up towards the ceiling. So leg comes back up, foot comes up. We're going to see if we can pull that knee towards our head. So knee comes forward, head drops down. And then extend that leg out behind you. So take an inhale and then exhale. Knee comes towards your forehead. Inhale as you extend that leg out. Let's rotate the foot around. And then we're going to let that right knee come down, round back into a cat pose. Inhale into a dog, let spine drop down, head and chest come up. Good. Come back to a flat back, abdomen in, left leg stretches out, toes point down. Breathe. And then we're going to bring bottoms of the toes down onto the mat. You're going to push your heel backward. So your hips come back, right? Your whole body's pushing backward. Stretching lower leg. And then we're going to bring that leg up, trying to push foot up towards the ceiling. And then knee comes towards the head. Just nice and gently, trying to bring your knee in. Your head drops down. Inhale as you extend that leg out. Head comes forward. Exhale as you bring that knee towards your head. Inhale as you lengthen that leg out. Then we're going to let the knee drop down. We're going to come back into a child's pose. Come on down. Breathe. Let your back lengthen out.
All right, let's do a little striking cobra. So we're gonna spread our fingers out, bring your arms pretty far forward here. Start to bring your arms as far forward as you can. And you're gonna come up onto your knees. You're gonna bend your elbows as you start to let your hips drop down towards the floor. I'm gonna move a little further back on my mat here. And then we're just bringing it into, you could come into a sphinx, lower arms on the floor, or it can be a cobra pose, hands below your shoulders. And don't put any weight into your hands. Just try to pull your shoulders back here, push your chest forward. Big full breath. And then we're gonna come back. So you're gonna push into your hands, you're gonna start to bring your hips up, pushing back into child's pose. Let your back lengthen out. So this is very similar to that cat and dog we just did, right? We're letting your spines round a little bit forward here in child's pose, and then that back bend we're doing, we're dropping spine down, shoulder blades come back. And then we come forward again. So bring your arms forward. We're going to lift up. Start to bend your elbows as your thighs and your hips come down. Again, come down nice and low into your back bend without putting any pressure into your hands. Just pull your shoulders backward. Look to one side. And then look to the other side. And then back to center. Push into your hands again. Come back into a child's pose. So if I start to think about the chakras as a whole, right, they all run along the spine. So if we have all these important energy centers that run along the spine, until we get to third eye and top of the head, moving the spine, we can see how that becomes very important. And so that's always a key part of yoga is, twisting and bending sideways and the back bends, the forward bends. So we can start to think about how that is really helping to balance all of the energy centers along the spine. So we're never just working on one particular. We're going to be focusing on heart today, but we're always working on all of them, and everything's going to connect up and work in harmony. Okay, that's it. Let's come into a downward facing dog. So you want your hands to be about shoulder width apart. Fingers are spread out wide. You're really trying to press that whole hand. So I see a lot of people will, and again, this is going to depend on what you're feeling, but I see a lot of people will rest just on the heel, and then their fingers will be kind of like cupped, or they'll rest on the outside of the hand. So you may have a particular issue, but I think a lot of times people just aren't really paying attention to where they're putting pressure on the hand. So you want to try to we're putting a lot of weight on our hands and our arms. So you want to distribute that weight across the hands. You're really trying to get that whole hand down into your mat, putting pressure down across all of the fingers. All right, so knees come up, hips go back. So again, where's your weight? Or you'll just let your fingers kind of hang out here. Kind of spread those fingers out. So you're pressing, the base of the fingers down into your mat. Rise up onto your toes. Bring your heels up. Get a little pressure on your toes and let your heels drop down. So if you can drop your head down, see if you can focus on where that heart chakra is along the spine. So where does the center of the chest correlate to the spine? So when we're in this down dog, we're starting to flatten out that upper back, which tends to round forward. So we're still working on stimulating that upper back. All right, we're gonna try to let's do your right leg up, right leg down, left leg up, left leg down. We're gonna do right leg up again and try to bring it into a pigeon pose. So right leg up, we're gonna bend the knee, similar to what we did while we were in cat. We're gonna bring that knee forward. You're gonna bring your foot down towards your left side of your mat. Right knee drops down to the right side, left leg walks back, coming into a pigeon pose. Hands walk backward. So here again, we're getting a backward bend. Bring our hands back, you're pushing your chest forward, pulling your shoulders back. Breathe in. And then we're gonna fold in a little bit, focus a little bit more on the hip and the leg. And then we're going to try to make our way back into a downward facing dog. So start to spread your fingers out. So again, like you're getting that positioning for your down dog. You can use the back foot, kind of push the body forward, and then lift that right leg up. Kick that right leg into the air. Let the right leg come down. You're going to bring your left leg up into the air, and then bend the knee, bring it towards your head. Let your left foot drop down towards the right side of the mat, and the shin and the knee come down. Walk your right leg backward. Hands walk back. We're going to push chest forward, pull shoulder blades back. And then again, we can fold back, pull closer to the floor. Breathe out. And then we're going to take it back into a downward facing dog. So fingers spread out wide. Wrists are in line with one another. We're going to curl those back toes under. Push the body forward using the toes. And then start to bring that knee up. Bring your left leg up, stretch it up. We're going to let the left foot come down. Push back into your down dog. Come forward into a plank. And then you're either lowering it straight down. We're going to bring your knees down. And then maybe your thighs and your hips come into your back bend. So again, we're talking about this upper spine. Pay attention to what's happening in your back bend. So if we stay really low, we can push the chest forward and pull the shoulder blades back. Pay attention to where you're feeling that on your spine. If you push up higher and your arms are straight, where are you feeling that now? So for me, I can mostly feel that in the lower torso. I can feel it kind of through the sides of the torso, like the sides of the abdomen. I can feel it stretch through my abdomen, and I can really feel it in my low back. My upper back now is pretty much straight. It's not bending. So again, if you want to try to get that, stimulate that heart chakra, you want to bend your elbows, pull your shoulders down, push your chest forward. So your shoulders are really pushing backward. So you can pay attention to where's that spot where you feel like you're really activating that center. And then we're going to bring it back into a child's pose. So you can think about it again as like activating, working on the whole spine, or that you're activating, all of the energy centers along the spine, just by having that but you want to pay attention to what am I feeling. So partly, do I have low back problems, and really bending that low back is not so hot for me at the moment. But also, am I getting into that upper spine? Am I really consistently working on the entire spine, or am I constantly overdoing it on that low back and I'm not getting into my upper back? And again, because we tend to round forward during our day, because that's the way our bodies are shaped basically, we want to try to not get stuck in that deeper curved forward state. So we want to really focus on trying to feel that we're stimulating that heart chakra in the upper back. All right, let's walk our feet up to our hands. We're going to come up into a standing forward fold. Take a breath. And then inhale all the way up. We're gonna bring arms up overhead, shoulder blades are down. Hands touch, bring them on down to the heart, nice full breath. So one of the ways to work on that upper back during the day, you can do this, you can hang on to a chair, just in the middle of your day. Sometimes I'll even do this with a shopping cart, like if I'm in line at the supermarket. I'll just try to do like a little dancer pose. So nothing dramatic while I'm in a public space. But sometimes I'll just reach back, grab my foot. So a dancer, you're working on pulling that foot backward. But we can work on just pushing chest forward, right? You can hang on to your shopping cart or the chair in your office or something like that. It doesn't have to be super dramatic dancer pose, but it can be when we're here practicing yoga. Or if you had a nice little quiet spot during your day where you can do that. Or if you're not as shy as I used to be, but if you're not shy about doing something like that in public, go for it. All right, so we're just gonna take it to the other side. You're gonna try to get your other foot. So try to feel it even here. We're pulling that shoulder back, we're pushing the chest forward, we're activating the spine. And then you can try to come into a little bit of a deeper dancer pose. All right, we're gonna let go, circle shoulders. Feet are gonna come out wide. All right, so we're gonna turn feet to the right. You're gonna come into a warrior two. But both feet are turning to the right. We're bringing arms up. So here, this is not really a big back bend. But we can again imagine that deep emerald green at the heart center. We can imagine that sensation of unconditional love. So now it's a little bit harder to do that, right? Our minds are elsewhere, our bodies are moving. It's a little harder to come back into that, at least for me, that nice state of feeling that sense of unconditional love. So when we're stressed, harder to feel that unconditional love. But so as we're here holding warrior two, there's this little bit of stress on our bodies and holding the pose. So we can practice feeling a bit of unconditional love. And then we're gonna lean it into an extended side angle. Right hand or right lower arm on your right thigh. Left hand could stay on your hip. So again, if you feel like you really wanna try to get a little bit more into that back bend shape, you can bring this left hand behind the hips to the back of the sacrum, pushing your chest forward, pulling the shoulder blade back, breathing. But if you feel like you need more of that extension, arm comes out past your head, so you get this little deeper stretch of the side body. All right, we're gonna turn down towards our toes. We're gonna bring that left hand down, so hopefully to the floor, to a block or a book. You can get both hands to come down to the floor. Bring them both down. We're gonna work on pulling hip back. Lengthen the body over the leg. And just try to shift this back. We're gonna try to come up into a warrior one. So try to bring this back foot a little farther forward, and so that your toes are starting to not angle quite so far out towards the side of the mat, just like a little soft angle out to the side of the mat. Bend in that right knee. We're going to come on up into a warrior one. Shoulder blades are down. So try to bring your chest up towards the ceiling. So even in warrior one, we start to get this little bit of a back bend here. Humble warrior. Hands come behind you, interlace fingers, pull hands down towards the floor. So here again, you can see we're getting this back bend shape. Feel your chest pushing forward. Feel that bending in the upper back, that spine pushing forward. All right, humble, we're coming forward. On an exhale, leaning towards your leg, onto your leg, or past the inside of the leg. So good to have a little bit of humbleness with this sense of opening our hearts. So unconditional love is also about this bit of humbleness. And then we're coming back up into warrior one. Hands come together. Exhale them on down to the heart. Let's pivot sideways. We're going to step feet in together. And then just kind of whatever shaking out you feel like you need to do. Maybe it's legs. All right, I'm going to have a sip of water. All right. It's funny how sometimes your body doesn't want to move, and then once you start moving, you just feel so good. Hopefully you're feeling good. All right, so we're going to start with feet wide. We're going to take it into warrior two. Now we're going to turn feet to the left. So feet are wide. We're going to turn left foot out, right foot's going to follow. Coming into that warrior two. Bend in your left knee, let your hips drop down. Lift your spine up. Arms come on up to shoulder height. So we're looking out over left fingertips. We're letting our shoulder blades drop down. Feeling the breath. So again, imagine that. Try to imagine that sensation of unconditional love. But even though you may be hating me for making you hold this pose, try to feel unconditional love. All right, here we go, into extended side angle. Leaning your left hand or your left lower arm on that left thigh. So again, where do you want this right hand? Do you want it to come behind you? Resting on kind of the back of the pelvis there, pulling that shoulder back, pushing your chest forward. Or do you want to bring that hand up towards the ceiling or out past your head? And then we're going to look down towards our toes. So the right hand comes down. And if you can bring left hand down, left hand also comes down. We're going to try to straighten out this left leg. Let your spine lengthen out over the left leg. All right, so again, back foot. I'm going to move mine a little closer to my front foot. I'm going to angle so it's not turning out quite so far. Bend in that left knee. Come on up into warrior one. All right, back foot's still not quite in the right spot, so you can move your feet around a little bit if you need to. Shoulders down. So again, feel this sense of lifting your chest up towards the ceiling. Hands come down behind you. Interlace fingers together, pull hands down towards the floor. So again, it's that back bend. Exhale, fold forward towards the thigh, on the thigh, past the thigh. Breathe. And then we're going to inhale up. Arms come back up overhead. Hands together. Bring them on down to the heart. We're going to turn feet towards the long edge of the mat. Lengthen up your spine. And then just a nice wide leg forward fold. Let your back lengthen out. If you can bring your hands forward, you can do like a wide leg, downward facing dog. And then we're going to shift it into a squat. So heels turn in, toes out. You can keep your feet wide if you like your squat to be with your feet wider. I find if the feet are a little bit wider, you might be able to shift a little bit from side to side. So you might be able to kind of shift over a little bit to your right foot, bringing that right heel up. And then you might be able to shift back, bringing your left heel up. You can feel good in your ankles and your lower legs. And then we're going to tip forward, and we're going to come all the way up. Arms reach up overhead. Hands come on down to the heart. Big full of breath. All right. Go up to the top of the mat. We're going to circle the shoulders a little bit. We're going to do a lunge. All right. Let's see. I'm not sure where we're going to start this lunge from. Okay, I wanted to do with arms up, but I'm feeling like that's too unsteady. That was a crazy thought. Okay, hands on your hips. Take your left foot. Try to step that left foot back, landing on the ball of the left foot. So your right foot's forward, you're bending in your right knee. Letting your hips drop down. Trying to get this little stretch in the front of this back hip. So let that heel drop down even though you're on the ball of the foot. Lift up. So it's like you're trying to kind of push your pelvis forward. Whoops, knocking myself over here. Trying to get that stretch in the front of the hip. And then arms come up. Big breath. And then we're going to try to push off the ball of that foot coming forward. Hands together, bring them on down to the heart. Nice full breath. Hands on hips. We're going to step the right foot back. Trying to land on the ball of that right foot. Left knee bends. So again, let your right heel drop down and then try to push the pelvis forward a little bit so your tailbone's dropping down. Try to get that stretch in the front of your right hip. Arms come up, shoulders down. We're breathing. And then we're going to try to step forward. Hands together, on down to the heart. Big full breath. And then we're going to take it into a chair pose. So we're right, it's almost like we're doubling up. So we just had the one knee bend, now we're going to do both. Arms come on up overhead. We're going to sit down. And then if you like, arms can reach out behind you. Trying to bring your pinkies up as high as you can towards the ceiling. Abdomen squeezes in. Trying to push hips and knees backward. And then coming into a forward fold. Hands come on down. Take a breath in your forward fold. Knees might still be a little bit bent here. And then we're going to step the feet back into a downward facing dog. And coming on into plank. Either legs straight or knees come down. Use your way down. Find your back bend. You can look, so I'm going to stay low here. You can look from side to side. And then we're going to bring it back into a child's pose. Keep breathing. We're going to try to gently make our way onto our backs. Come on down. A few breaths here on the floor. Taking it into a twist. arms out at shoulder height, feet on the floor. We're gonna bring our legs over to the right side. Head can turn in either direction. Arms can shift around. Sometimes I'll bring them up higher. And then we're going to come back to center. Breath in the middle. And legs drop over to the left side. Arms might change. Maybe a little bit different than the other side. And back to center. Knees pull in. If you're doing happy baby, reach for your feet. So again, depending on how your back is, it might be with feet together, might be with those feet separated. All right, and then we're going to do Shavasana. So any way you are comfortable. So you can do it with your feet down on the floor wide, knees resting together. You can have your legs straight. If you're comfortable in a reclining cobbler's pose, soles of the feet can come together, and then your knees are dropping out to either side. I will sometimes do this more like I'm sitting in a cross-legged position. So a lot of times I'll just kind of, so my ankles are kind of overlapping. It's less intense for me. It shifts where you feel it a little bit, but it's less intense for me than reclining cobbler's pose. So just depending on where you want to be, find your spot. Nice full breath. Anything that needs to shift, you can turn your head a little bit, get comfy. And start to focus on that sensation of the breath flowing into the chest. So that movement of the chest. Starting to focus your mind once more on the heart center. Picture that deep emerald green filling the chest. So you might even imagine your breath flowing in as a deep emerald green, just filling that whole chest cavity, that deep emerald green. And trying to feel that sensation of unconditional love. all the way into your belly. Gently start to move your wrists, fingers. Maybe hug your knees into your chest so you can freely move your ankles and wiggle your toes. If it feels right, turn your head from side to side. And then roll to one side. And try to gently make your way up into a seated position. All right, so usually we do, just hands in prayer. So you can just kind of open that up into Padma Mudra, if you like. So it's just pulling them 3 middle fingers apart, pinkies and thumbs still touch. Big full breath. Exhale it out. Thank you for being here and sharing in this practice today. Namaste.